Hello and welcome back to the Lore Raider. Today I have a special video for you. Part 1 of a long series that I'm going to make doing the complete and utter timeline of the Metroid franchise from every canon piece of media out there. I've done extensive research on the subject and I'm proud to present Part 1 of the complete Metroid timeline. So without further ado, let's get started. Millennia prior to the events of the games, an ancient race known as the Olympics would evolve in the Tetra Galaxy. At some point, 2,000 years ago, they would participate in the Tetra Border Wars, and were successful thanks to the General Amniac. However, their burgeoning civilization would be attacked by a mysterious entity called Garia, a being who assumed the appearance of an Olympic and began systematically destroying the race from every planet they inhabited, as well as seizing their advanced technologies and using it against them. Facing their extinction, the Olympics attempted one last Hail Mary strategy against Garia. Utilizing the Seal Sphere, they managed to trap Garia, and as an extra precaution they locked it within the prison ship known as Oubliette, and further sealed the Seal Sphere within an alternate dimension, the Infinity Void, with the aid of an Olympic cannon. However, the process could only be powered by the psionic energy of the Olympics, and as such the entire race paid the ultimate price, going extinct in the material plane in order to stop Garia for good. An ancient civilization was formed in the Extreme Galaxy, where at some point they encountered the Animus, a godlike being of immense power, the power to grant the users the power of the Black Hole and White Hole. The civilization sealed the Animus due to its great power and presumably died out soon after. Two more races, the Chozo and Luminoth, evolved and became spacefaring some 1,500 years before the birth of Samus Aran, and entered the Golden Age of technology. The two races would come into contact with other species and each other, and likely exchange technologies, coming into contact with relatively primitive races like the Bryonians, humans, and Yila. The Chozo became the most technologically advanced race, as well as becoming extremely warlike and began conquering worlds en masse. Their civilization balanced technology with spirituality, which contributed to their success, creating the likes of the Proto-Power Suit and advanced robotics. At some point, however, their technology couldn't advance any further, and the race as a whole ceased to be warlike, and became passive observers, although a few refused to make the switch and fled to parts unknown. Planet Phase becomes fully enveloped in Phazon and gains sapience, and begins scheming how to best propagate the Phazon, starting the creation of the earliest Leviathan seeds. The now peaceful Chozo began colonizing further planets, making sure not to harm the local ecology in the process, including Zebes, SR-38, and Elysia. Around this time, the Chozo create Skytown in Elysia and create the mechanical Elysian race, as well as discovering the X-Parasites, labeling them the greatest threat to the galaxy's peace. The Chozo's sheer longevity wreaks havoc on the reproductive systems, preventing them from breeding further, as well as losing the ability to fly. Around the same time, they grant the Elysians free will and sapience. For some time now, the Bryonians had went through several dynasties of which an emperor or empress ruled. However, as the technology they obtained from the Chozo and Luminoth overtook their religion, the Chozo warned them to strike a balance, but were ultimately ignored, causing a schism within the population between the magic-using primals, also known as Reptilicus, and the science-using Lords of Science, and the Age of War began. The two sides battled endlessly for decades as outside forces tried and failed to end the conflict, and both sides inflicted brutal war crimes on the other. By this time, wars on Bryo had made the world itself a casualty, rendering most of it uninhabitable, a far cry from the planet of wonders it was once known as. The Bryonians who embraced science found themselves lacking the resources to power their weapons and continue the war, allowing the primals to finally overrun the Lords of Science. But victory didn't last long for them as the sheer scale of devastation kicked in. The surviving Lords of Science realized they could face total extinction if they didn't act to save their planet, and quickly. They used what technologies they had left to launch great machines into the sky, which successfully sucked the toxins from the atmosphere. However, Bryo was forever changed, as one half was a bone-dry desert and the other a perpetually glacial wasteland. The Chozo established colonies on planet ZDR, as well as Talon 4, the last known colony, as well as creating Mother Brain and beginning the Metroid project in order to combat the X-Parasite threat. In 1970 of the Cosmic Calendar, Planet Phase launched several living meteors known as Leviathans into space. At the same time, a young primal Bryonian, known as the Prophetess, foresees her planet's doom and seeks out the last Lord of Science who works to prepare for the disaster. In 1975 of the cosmic calendar, the Leviathan hit several planets including Brio and Talon 4 before the Lord of Science could finish the countermeasures. The collision destroyed her stockpile of fuel gel, causing a massive explosion. The Lord of Science sacrifices herself to the oncoming primal horde to save the life of the prophetess. At the same time, a Leviathan impacted on Aether, homeworld of the Luminoth. However, the collision reacted with the unique energies of the planet, causing the phazon from the meteor to create an alternate dimension to Aether, known as Dark Aether, complete with its own alternate beings known as the Ing, who declare war on the Luminoth, beginning the Dark Age and the start of the 50-year conflict. Humans and several other alien species became space-capable, and dozens of species across the Milky Way galaxy met to form a new government, a process the Chosen were heavily involved in, for it was their bid to spread their message of true peace in space with this new galactic government, eventually leading to the creation of the Galactic Federation in the year 2000. At the same time, Sims Aaron was born on the planet K2L, a human colony world that mined the valuable aphtharite mineral that was used for fuel, to Rodney and Virginia Aaron. Several species chose to remain independent from the new Federation, although several more emerged to combat the Federation. A separate confederation of pseudo-hive-minded species began working for the more powerful species, such as the space dragons. These grunt species collectively were named Space Pirates, and they set up shop on Utragus and named it their homeworld. A species of insectoids known as the Kraken emerged and were known as the Kraken Empire. They were hive-minded like many eusocial insects and are regarded as extragalactic cockroaches, and both the pirates and the Federation agree that they must be exterminated. The Enioma Living Weapons Project is founded by an unknown group in a sinister laboratory, with the express goal of creating the perfect soldier. However, the project goes awry, which causes the test subject to break free and kill every scientist and flee. The subject Camden becomes a bounty hunter in order to become the best hunter without peer. The Dominion, a warmongering corporation, begins starting wars across the universe in order to sell weapons to all parties involved, thus granting them a great profit. The uptick in wars, however, causes the Craftsman species, once renowned as the greatest engineers in the galaxy, to give up creating and retreated to the planet of Jatsuk in the Extreme Galaxy. Materialis is created by an unknown party and placed on the planet of Billion. It's a sapient global exterminator virus meant to kill all life in its path. In response, the Federation quarantines the planet so that no one can enter it. The Federation participated in the Horus Rebellion, a bloody war that occurred on Horus 4, in which the Federation scrambled together much of its military and suffered heavy casualties, including the deaths of the entire bridge crew of the GFS Valhalla, forcing Aurora Unit 313 to take command. The species war occurs between an unknown number of species, but it results in the Elfin being blamed for the war and oppressed by galactic society. Adam Malkovich serves as the general in the war. It does concur that about this time the Federation begins to discriminate against non-humanoid species such as the Simians. The war on Aether begins in stride. The Luminoth quickly realized that Dark Aether was extremely toxic to their species, and built light crystals and light beacons to send their warriors over. However, the Luminoth knew they didn't have the resources or the manpower to fight a prolonged war. As such, they developed the energy transfer modules and rounded up two armies of their best warriors, led by Akul, to acquire the Sky Temple keys and recover Aether's lost energy. At first, the Luminoth scored decisive victories, such as the Fourth Battle of Torvis, in which B-Zit, a Luminoth warrior, single-handedly killed an Ing Horde war chief. However, even as the army collected the keys, the second phase of the war slowly turned in the Ing's favor, as each of the key bearers were killed, and soon the Ing discovered the energy transfer module and used it against their enemy, first managing to secure victory over Aegon Temple and again at Torvis Temple, and inflicted grave casualties on the Luminoth warriors. The battered Luminoth army would make a final stand at their sanctuary, where they fought bravely in the battle for the Hive. The warrior Seapole died a hero, having slain 700 Ing before dying. After the Ing won decisively, the Luminoths lost any ability to openly war with their enemy. In 2002, with the Galactic Calendar, the Space Pirates attempted an invasion of planet Zebes, and planted badger clover flowers on the surface, an extremely deadly plant, but died from the plant's poison themselves. In 2003, the Galactic Calendar, the Chozo arrive on K2L to discuss purchasing a large shipment of aphtharite mineral in order to hasten their Metroid project. However, Rodney Aaron, Samus's father, turns them down and asks them to leave. Soon after, Ridley and his fleet of space pirates attacked the planet to steal the resources for himself, thus beginning the K2L massacre. During the conflict, a terrified Samus Aran approached Ridley, fully attempting to be friends with him despite his terrifying appearance. Although Ridley seemed softened slightly by her speech, he still prepared to attack and kill her, and Samus was only saved by the timely sacrifice of her mother, Virginia Aran. Meanwhile, aboard Ridley's flagship, Rodney Aran sneaks aboard after attempting to alert the Federation for assistance, but seeing as time was running out, he tried to take the situation into his own hands but is confronted by two pirates. Seeing no other option, he ignites the volatile affluorite, creating a massive explosion that kills him, the pirates, and severely damages Ridley, leaving Samus as the sole survivor of the incident. Samus is found and taken to Zebes by the same Chozo, Old Bird and Grey Voice, who take her back to Zebes to discuss her fate with Mother Brain. Grey Voice and Mother Brain agree that the conditions of Zebes, namely its overwhelming gravity, would kill Samus in days, and that is when Old Bird opts to infuse Samus with Chozo DNA to help her survive on the planet. 11 years pass and it is now 2014 on the cosmic calendar. The Chozo have trained Samus with the express duty of molding her into a warrior that can defend the galaxy and bring a true peace in space. They equipped Samus with a version of their ancient power armor made specifically for her that reacted to her emotions and her will, and over time her physical strength became superhuman, but she hadn't yet mastered the suit. One day she discovered the badger clover flowers that the space pirate had planted years ago, and a species of alien butterfly called the Ionaferia, to which Samus became quite enamored with, but not realizing the flowers were dangerous until Grey Voice stumbled upon Samus. Upon realizing the space pirate's failed plot, that the Ionaferia were carriers of the flower spores, Old Bird ordered Mother Brain to kill them all. The creatures in self-defense took up arms using the space pirate's old weapons and attempted to kill Grey Voice. This attempted Samus' latent abilities and she quickly activated the power suit and jumped to his defense before shooting the guns out of the butterfly's hands. Thinking she saved their lives, she was mortified when Mother Brain burned the creatures to death all at the same time. Sometime later, Old Bird confided in Samus they taught her all that they could and it was time for her to strike out on her own. And that's the end of part 1 of the complete Metroid timeline. Stay tuned for part 2, where we see Samus Aran learn the ropes of her time in the Galactic Federation Police and the Space Pirates enact their shadowy plan, which we'll see next time. If you enjoy my work, please like, share, and subscribe and comment down below. And be sure to ring the bell for notifications so you can see all my future content. I'm very excited for this series and it takes a lot of work, so please make my time worth it. It's going to take a few weeks between this episode and the next episode, but hope you'll stay tuned for it. But until then, stay tuned, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay wise.
The last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace.